Assalamu alaikum, honey. Wa alaikum salam, baby. What's going on? Well, I was just curious and I just had a lot of questions. It's great to have questions. Like, how can I help you, babe? Like, can you name some ways where, we can get blessings? Yeah. You know that programming mommy listens to almost every day and she learns about her deen and the hadiths and the different stories in Islam? Do you remember? Yes, I remember. And you let me listen to the programming on Sundays with the other kids? That's right. They're called Sunnahfollowers. And they're amazing. So when mommy goes ahead and she makes a donation, she gets a big blessing. Alhamdulillah. Really, mommy? And this is why it's so important that I donate, because I want to continue learning from Sunnah followers. So, what are we going to do next? I put a couple dollars away. You think we can use that? We sure can. How much you want to put in? Mommy, I don't have a lot. Hold on. Here you go. All right, Aisha, I got you. All right, let me scan this QR code. Wow, there we go. We made the donation. Alhamdulillah. May Allah reward you, baby. This is beautiful. Yeah, this is beautiful. Okay, go ahead and donate. Go to SunnahFollowers.net and press that donate tab. Remember, Sadaqah Jariyah on your scale on the Day of Judgment. Another Sunnah Followers exclusive, Not One of Us, written by Sheikh Muhammad S. Adli, broken down and brought to you by host Layla Nashiba. Join us every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, right here on Sunnah Followers.
Are we live? Are we online? Is there anybody in the Zoom room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Are we online now? Is it ready? Anybody on Facebook or YouTube? Oh, I'm still mad. Oh, are we live? Oh boy, are we live?
Yeah.
Girl, I'm getting ready to go off.
Well, you don't need to.
I'm still angry. I just want to punch his face in.
Just breathe, Shiva.
Just punch his face in. Just, ugh!
Well, just don't
and
do
then
all that.
Spit on him too.
Tell her, girl. Tell her that.
Just punch him, Latifah, and spit on. We got to strap up. It's time to strap up.
I don't know about.
We taking a ride. We gonna strap up, get in the car. We going for a ride to take care of some business. We got to put somebody in check. I'm so angry.
Are live.
Oh, are we live for real? Yeah. Oh, did y'all check it?
I'm looking at it now.
Oh my God, we live. Okay. Okay. Hold on. I'm sorry. Are we live for real? Oh my God, we are live. Forget all that, y'all. I'm sorry. Woo, girl, I gotta edit all that stuff out. Okay, hold on. We live. Stress, anger, powerful emotion. Hard to get over it too, man. Oh, okay. Let me get started, guys. 3. Ina alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulallah. What class is this? Welcome to our series on this is Akida, our Akida series, alhamdulillah. And this is the class, whereas we focus in on our belief system, exactly on how to establish the Islamic identity and personality, how we have to work on establishing our allegiance to Allah, our allegiance to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and our allegiance to ourselves. That's what's hard. It's hard to keep allegiance to other Muslims because when people make you angry, we talked about how the three emotions that are so hard and powerful, they're so powerful that it's hard for us to control, is number one, anger. Oh my gosh. And that's what I've been feeling right now. I'm trying to control it. You make dua, you walk, you sleep, exercise even, and that anger still there. Oh my good. Especially if it's anger because you feel that a person did an injustice to you. And by the way, let me address this question, this email, before I go into the class. One of the new sisters sent me an email asking the same thing. She said, Sister Layla, what if somebody does something bad to you and you get angry? She said, and I'm trying to let it go, but I can't let it go. Sister, I'm dealing with the same thing. I am so angry right now. That's the hardest thing. And that's why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the strong Muslim is not the one that can take you to the ground, and I can take you to the ground. The strong one is the one that can suppress his anger. And that's hard. We all struggle with it. So only thing you can do is like what I'm trying to do, exercise. I rode my bike. I worked out. I lifted weights. Anger still there. Take a shower. Pray 2 rakats. All that type of stuff, and just make dua, asking Allah to cool you off. Because that especially when someone has done an injustice to you, because you want qisas, and what we call qisas in Islam. You want to be vindicated. You want an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. That's qisas. When somebody violates your rights, those 3 rights that are sacred, that's when qisas comes about. Your honor, your property, your life, those 3 things are sacred. And that's when you want qisas. You want retribution. You want to be vindicated. Okay, so you just have to deal with it like I'm dealing with it right now. Okay, just make dua and try to take your mind off of whatever it is, like I'm trying to do. I'm teaching now. Hopefully this will take my mind off of it. So one of the most powerful emotions that we experience as human beings is anger. And then the second most powerful emotion that we experience is love. Oh yeah. We go from one extreme to the other. Love is blind. You guys have heard that. Subhanallah, if our love is not balanced, just like if our anger is not balanced, we can transgress the limits and end up hurting someone, going to jail. Well, if your love is not balanced, you can end up doing something that will hurt you, to the point where you can't come back from it. So it's just like anger. You have to balance it. And how do we balance our love? Who can answer that? How do we balance our love? How do we keep our loves from transgressing beyond what it should be? Anyone? How do we balance love? Come on, you Muslims.
We can balance our love by loving the things that Allah loves, meaning, enjoining the good and forbidding the evil and doing the good things that He loves. And then we can also you know, not do the things that Allah hates, so we don't, you know, embark in his anger and such, and just stay away from them.
Exactly. That's the way we balance our love, by training ourselves to love only for the sake of Allah. To love only for the sake of Allah. That means to love only that which Allah loves. If we were able to strike that balance in love, then we wouldn't end up committing shirk. And how can a person, give me an example of a person committing shirk in their love? Give me an example of a person transgressing in their love to the point where they have associated partners with Allah. Who can give me an example of how a person can shirk in love? Go ahead.
One example is loving your partner or your children more than you love Allah, you know, by doing things to celebrate them or something like that, where you're doing more for them than what Allah tell you to do.
Exactly, guys. A lot of us transgress the limits when it comes to our children in love. Your son sells drugs right from out of your house. And by the way, this is a true case. A sister emailed me about this a couple of months ago. Dear Sister Layla, my son is 17 years old. He's selling drugs from outside of my house. He's a good boy. He's just a knucklehead. That was her email. He's a good boy. He's just a knucklehead. No, he ain't no good boy, because he's doing something that Allah said he shouldn't do. So is your love for him greater than that of Allah, that you would sit there and allow him to sell drugs from out of your house? No. If your love was balanced, you would know to tell your son, look, either you stop or get out. Either you stop selling drugs or you got to go find someplace else to live, because you can't do that crap here. See, we would make the right choices and the right decisions in life if our love was based on the sake of Allah. If we only loved what Allah loved. And a lot of us women commit shirk in love with our husbands, you know, or with relationships with men, period. We'll transgress the limits of Allah because we want to make that man happy. You want that man to love you. You want that man to like you. So you would do things that you know you shouldn't be doing. How many of us have found ourselves in those situations? Okay, we have to be careful of that. So, and the same is with hate. So the three most powerful emotions are anger, love, and hate. Well, yesterday we spoke about how in order to be a true believer, we have to have allegiance to Allah. And allegiance to Allah entails loving him, putting him above everything else, above our children, our husbands, our jobs, our desires, our anger, which is what I'm trying to do, to get over my anger. So I don't transgress the limits and get in my SUV and make a drive to a place I don't need to go and end up roundhouse kicking somebody and spitting on them. And that's bad. That's two bad things, three bad things. Number one, getting in my SUV driving to where I shouldn't go. Number two, doing a roundhouse kick to knock this man out. And number three, when I knock him out, spit in his face. You know, by the way, guys, you ain't supposed to spit on another Muslim or anything. I want you guys to know one of the worst things that you can do is spit on someone or something. If you got children that spit, you better break them out of it. Pop them. But see, that's our jinn. Our jinn will push us to transgress the limits and do the worst thing. The worst thing that I could do is roundhouse kick an old person and knock them down. And I can do it. And then stand over you and go in your face. And then take my foot and rub it into. Oh, woo, woo, woo. It feels good when you think about it. But that's your jinn. We got to control, pull it in, rein it in. Isn't that right, Tiba? Rein that sucker in.
That's right, Layla. I'm answering today.
We got to rein it in. But that's how powerful that anger is, guys. And a lot of people end up in jail, dead, and all of that. But yesterday we spoke about how the hardest thing for us, it's easy for us to succumb to anger because as a human being, we are attracted to those things that are bad for us. We're attracted to those things that are not good for us. That's why the prophet said the road to hell is easier than the road to paradise. Yeah, I can jump in that SUV, roundhouse kick, hot pull. After I get through knocking you out, yeah, it's easy. But the hard thing is trying to balance it. Paradise. The road to paradise is hard, guys. So it's easy to do anger, hard to develop love for Allah. So this chapter 9 of this book, and everybody should have this book by now. For those of you who don't have it, you want to go to Amazon.com. This book is written by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. Oh yeah. Let me put it up here so y'all can see the name of it too, for the new people here. Where is it at? I know I got it in here. Wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. I'm so angry I can't even work my commands here. I can't even work my stuff here, Latifa. Oh, here it is. Okay. Diluting Wala Wel Bara. That's the book. You can purchase it by going to Amazon.com. Go to Amazon.com. The book is $19.99. It's written by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. It should be a part of your library. And we are on chapter 9. For those of you who have the book, get it out right now. This chapter speaks about things that we can do to cultivate and develop love for Allah, which I need to focus on that right now. So I don't get in that SUV and make a drive to do a roundhouse and a spit. And then I rub it in your face with my foot, my cowgirl boots, Tiva. Get my cowgirl boots on. And after I do the hook, take my cowgirl boot and ooh, God. So how do we not succumb to that? Let's work on developing love for Allah. And in this chapter, Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid speaks about things that we can do that would help us to focus on, cultivate, and grow love in our heart for Allah. This in turn will help us to put things in His perspective. Allah hates for you to spit on somebody, Layla. Allah hates for you to harm another Muslim with your hand. Even if that person did something to tick you off, you can't hit them. Allah teaches us to respect the elderly too. Okay? Also, it don't look good for a woman to beat up a man, even though you know you can. Hello? So we got to put all that stuff in perspective. Okay? Because it's not what Allah likes. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen and let's talk about it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Life. Okay. All right, here we go. So, how do we develop love and allegiance for Allah? There's many things we can do. And the number one thing is seek His mercy, kindness, and compassion for Allah's creation. This is something that we're all supposed to try to develop as Muslims. This is known as a virtuous behavior. And the people who can display kindness, the people who can display compassion, these are people who recognize that Allah displays it to us every day. And Allah's kindness and His compassion extends beyond our human interactions with ourselves to the animals and the environment. You know, one of the things I think about is The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us that there'll be more people in hell than in paradise. That's a reality. So there are more people on this planet who do not believe in Allah than there are people who do believe in him. And despite the fact that the people do not believe in Allah, he still allows the rain to fall. Now you tell me if that ain't mercy. People disrespect Allah every day by worshiping other than him. But he still allows the rain to fall. He still allows the sun to come out and provide heat for us. That's mercy. He still allows us to find a way to provide and maintain our families, even though we disobey him, even though we disrespect him. That's how merciful Allah is. So we have to learn to be merciful to others too. We have to learn to refrain and restrain even when we feel that someone has been unjust to us. We have to remember that two wrongs will never make a right. They cancel out. Two negatives will cancel out. Okay? And also this wonderful hadith here, whereas the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allah will not be merciful to those who are not merciful to others. So for the sister that emailed me today, because she's going through a rough time like I am right now, because somebody was unjust to her. Think about this. Vengeance belongs to Allah. Okay? Allah is the avenger. So that person did you an injustice, just like this person did me an injustice. We're angry. But instead of you doing worse than him or her, leave it in the hands of Allah. Make dua, the power of dua, as Dr. Dramali always reminds us. Dr. Dramali, he says dua is the weapon of mass construction. And it is. It's the weapon of mass construction. Someone does an injustice to you. Raise your hands and make dua to Allah and ask Allah to vindicate you. That's what I've been doing today, trying to. I've been asking Allah to vindicate me. I'm not going to retaliate, although I could, and I could really hurt that person. Okay, but I'm not going to retaliate. I'm going to leave it in the hands of my Lord and let my Lord take retribution and let my Lord vindicate me. Because Allah says, for those who show mercy to others, he'll show mercy to you when you need it. So think of that, sister. This hadith here is the reason why I'm not getting in my SUV, strapping up, making that ride to do a roundhouse kick followed by a spit. That's why I ain't doing it. And a face crunch. No face crunch, no spit, and no roundhouse kick because of this. Okay? So this is one of the ways. And if you realize, you will realize soon, if you learn how to wield back in that anger and not show a reaction when people do things to you. Because oftentimes people, most people do things because they want a reaction. And this is something that someone reminded me of. In fact, Amina Fresno. She know why I'm angry. Everybody in my Zoom room know why I'm angry. But something Amina Fresno said, the person wants a reaction. The person will say things to you because that person wants to get a reaction from you. They want to see you lower yourself lower than they are. They want to see you transgress the limits because deep down inside, they know that they transgressed it. When Amina Fresno told me that, I said, you know what? She's right. Okay? I'm not going to give the person the reaction that the person is expecting me to give because they probably want it. Some people get turned on to reactions like that, especially if it's a man. They get turned on to a forceful woman coming down, roundhouse kicking, dropping them, spitting on them, and then crunching them and school the face with their cowgirl boots. Men get turned on by that. It's like, hey, ride him, cowboy. So when Fresno told me that, I said, she's right. That's the reaction the person probably wants. So I'm just going to brush it off. Let Allah deal with it. Okay? Show mercy. And that's what we all need to do. Okay? And by the way, we didn't turn the summary on. Nobody reminded me. Everybody was... I'm turning it on now. Hold on. There we go. Y'all got it? It's on. Thank God I looked at the screen. So one of the ways that you can develop love for Allah and not transgress his limits is by seeking his mercy. Calling upon Allah when you're put in a trial, ask Allah to help you. Ask Allah to vindicate you. Ask Allah to not allow you to stoop down to that other person's level. And then Allah will also show mercy to you when you need it. Also, another way to earn the love of Allah and in turn learn to love for his sake is by respecting him and showing reverence for him. Making sure that your actions are in sync with Allah's commands. Like I said, spitting is wrong. You're cursed. There's a hadith, guys. The Prophet said anyone that spits on another creature of Allah, creation of Allah, has Allah's curse on them. So that's terrible. Making sure you don't spit in somebody's face. Okay? Making sure you don't roundhouse kick them in the face. The Prophet ﷺ said it's forbidden to hit any of Allah's creation in the face. We can't even punch a dog in the face. That's why you brothers can't do that boxing. And if you're doing that martial MMA stuff, you got to leave that face alone. Okay? So by aligning our actions with Allah's commands, this shows our commitment to him. It shows our respect for him. And it in turn will cause our Islamic values to increase so that we'll end up developing the Muslim identity that we're supposed to have. So we have to work on that compassion, work on honesty, generosity, and justice, because Islam is all about being just. So how many of us do this? One of the things that I'm always suggesting to my students here, and it's good advice for myself, always hold yourself accountable before you do an action and after. Think before you react, and think after you react. Is this something that Allah would like me to do? Is this something that will bring me closer to Allah or distance me from him? Am I showing el-wala doing this action or el-bara? Okay? So again, by thinking like this and holding yourself accountable and showing respect and reverence for Allah and his commands, this becomes an excellent way to end up developing love for Allah and training yourself to love only what he loves. Okay? Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning of mankind. There are some who take for worship others besides Allah, and they make them rivals to him. They love them as they should love Allah. But for those who do believe, they love Allah more than anything else. You love Allah more than revenge. You love Allah more than your parents. You love Allah more than your children even. So this verse shows that the love and devotion of a person that truly loves Allah is again in sync with his commands. It's in sync with his commands. A person that loves Allah is not going to transgress his limits. So ask yourself, am I living each day of my life doing the things that are pleasing to Allah? Or am I living each day of my life chalking up sins by giving in to my desire? Okay, we have to avoid backbiting. We have to avoid cheating others. We have to avoid lying or abusing others. And that's why I was saying to the new sister, and by the way, she shared with me before class what happened with her. I know she's angry. I mean, I'd be angry too. I am angry right now over something that happened with me recently. Okay? But that person did the sin. That person was unjust to you. Right now, keep it on him. Keep it on him. He was the one that committed the wrong, not you. Don't you go to his level and stoop lower. Remember the hadith that we went over, guys, whereas a man came up to Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, and started arguing with him. He was saying horrible things about Abu Bakr. I mean, he was in his face with his finger, yelling at him, saying hurtful things to him. And Abu Bakr sat there and ignored him for him. He didn't say nothing for a while. Then finally, I guess Abu Bakr couldn't take it. He got up and started yelling back, doing the finger back at him. And that's when the Prophet walked away. And Abu Bakr asked him, why did you walk away? The Prophet said, when that man approached you, yelling at you, demeaning you, and you didn't say nothing, an angel was standing there. The angels were standing there surrounding you. And they were pleading on your behalf. But as soon as you opened your mouth and started doing the same thing back at him and got loud like him, the angels left. So think about that hadith. Again, two rights don't make a wrong. What that person did is bad. Okay, let Allah deal with them. Allah doesn't like injustice. Allah doesn't like for a Muslim to go around hurting his brother or sister in faith. So again, leave the person to Allah. Let Allah handle it. Okay? Also, another thing that you can do to develop, and my PowerPoint acts so crazy, to develop your love for Allah and train yourself to love only what he loves is to respect his signs. And this is something that I'm always teaching my students here, to look at the signs of Allah. Allah has signs that he lays out before us to help us to remember him, to have taqwa of him, to be conscientious of him. And when you look at his signs and his symbols, this will keep you from transgressing him and disobeying him. Look at the mountains, how they stand in submission to Allah. They perform their job. They hold the earth still so that the earth doesn't move around as it rotates in space. Look how obedient the sun is. It rises when Allah commands it to rise, and it sets when he commands it to. So when we look at the signs and symbols that Allah has placed around us, this will help us to remember what our purpose is. It'll remind us that we were created to worship Allah. What does the word Muslim mean? A Muslim is one who submits to Allah. We're going to be tested with trials, calamities, hardships. But just like those mountains remain firm, holding this earth still, even in the winter, even in the rain, even with the earthquakes, we should be resolute like that too. Okay, so, if you respect the signs of Allah, it will help us to demonstrate our submission to him. And it'll help us to train our actions to be in sync with his commands. And soon you'll be looking at things the way Allah wants us to look at them, instead of letting your personal feelings get in the way. Listen to what Allah says in the interpretation, the meaning. It is an obligation owed to Allah by mankind. Whoever respects Allah's symbols does so from the depths of their hearts. Subhanallah. That's the sign of a believer. So here you can see Allah is commanding the believers to honor his signs as a manifestation of piety and reverence. Okay, and those signs are everywhere, guys. The time of day, the location. For example, look at Ramadan. Ramadan is the month of fasting. That's time. We increase our worship during that month. The first 10 days of Dhul Hijjah, we increase our remembrance of Allah then. When you go to Mecca, you go to Medina, you go to Jerusalem, you increase your remembrance of Allah then, because you are reminded of him by the location you are. You're reminded of him because of the time of year it is. And also, when we learn about the prophets, alayhi salam, this helps to also cause us, to maintain piety and reverence, because the prophets of Allah were examples for us. Moses, alayhi salam, Abraham, alayhi salam, and so on. So again, guys, one of the best ways, and I'm telling you, that works for me. That's why I love the mountains. Everybody that knows me know I love the mountains. I wished I lived in the mountains. I would love to live up in them, because when I'm in the mountains, I'm calm. When I go to Tennessee and stay in my timeshare in the mountains, which I'm inshallah go next month, when I go and stay in the mountains, I change into a different person. I'm more calm. I'm more resolute. Subhanallah, I'm more spiritual. I'm able to write in my book. I wrote half my book last time I went to Tennessee, because it's just, I'm reminding of the greatness of Allah. And I end up thanking him for the beauty and for giving me the things I have and all of that. Okay. So recognizing the signs of Allah will help you to develop love for him, and in turn, train yourself to love what he loves. Also, another way to develop love for Allah is to rely upon him. It's easy for us to trust in man. But as Allah tells us in the Quran, put your trust in him, because he'll never let you down. If you trust in man, man can let you down. That's why I'm angry. Men have let me down for years. I'm disappointed all the time. You trust in somebody, you trust that a person's going to be committed to what you're committed to, and then that person will throw you a wrench from out of nowhere. Oh my God. See, Allah doesn't do that. Allah keeps his words. Allah doesn't break his promises. Allah is always mindful. Allah is always mindful of how he addresses others. So we need to embrace the correct form of reliance, because when we rely upon Allah, this will help us to also build confidence within ourselves, because we know that he'll be there for you. You're never alone. He's with you. He's with you in spirit, not physically. Okay? We have the hadith whereas Umar radiallahu anha tells us that the Prophet said, if only you would rely upon Allah as you should. If you would rely upon Allah as you should, he will provide for you just as he provides for the birds. They leave in the morning hungry, but they come back in the evening full. Subhanallah, trust in Allah. If we relied upon him, like I told you guys in another class I taught, as long as you are living, Allah will cause you to survive. This is a philosophy that we have to adapt. As long as I am living, Allah will cause me to survive. There's always a way out. Miracles do happen. All I got to do is expect it from him, not from a man, not from a woman, not from anything other than him. Rely upon him, trust in him. He won't abandon me. Allah will not abandon you as long as you don't abandon him. Okay, so again, this is another way to develop love for Allah and train yourself to love what he loves. Embrace the correct form of reliance. And again, contemplate Allah's creation. Look at the signs around you. Look at the universe. Look at the flowers. As Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, who remembers Allah? They are people who remember Allah while standing or sitting or lying on their sides. And they think about the creation of the heavens and the earth. And they say, our Lord, you did not create this for nothing. Exalted are you above such a thing. So protect us from the punishment of the hellfire. So again, contemplating Allah's creation and looking at his signs together will help us to develop love for him and love for his sake. And finally, for today, and this is something that we mentioned yesterday, another thing that we can do that will help us to develop allegiance and love for Allah is to perform the voluntary actions of worship. We have this hadith where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that Allah has said, this is a hadith qudsi. Allah has said, my servant will continue to get close to me by doing the voluntary deeds until I love him. And when I love him, I become his hearing with which he hears, his sight with which he sees, and his hand with which he strikes, and his foot with which he walks. And if he were to ask me of anything, I would give it to him. And if he were to seek refuge with me, I would give him to them. Subhanallah. Now my anger is calmed. This reminder here, this beautiful hadith here, what is the Prophet telling us? He is telling us that if by doing the voluntary deeds, the deeds that we don't have to do, this is how we end up earning the love of Allah. I don't have to sit here on the internet and teach. This is something that I choose to do. This is a voluntary deed. I tell you guys, dawah is from your actions, not your tongue. You don't have to talk about it, okay? This is something I choose to do. I volunteer to do. And I'll keep doing it until you earn the love of Allah. And if Allah loves you, he becomes your hearing. What does that mean? He hears what the people say about you. When people say bad things about you, when people lie on you, when people slander you, like they did Aisha, radiyallahu anha, Allah is your hearing. He got your back. He hears it. And he becomes your sight. What does that mean? He sees what they are doing to you. Not only does Allah hear what the people of hasad, or the people of envy, or the people of hatred say about you, but he sees the plots and plans they try to make against you too. And he becomes your hand, which means don't worry about it. Put it in his hand. Let him vindicate you. He becomes your hand. in which to strike. In other words, vengeance belongs to Allah, sister. And he becomes your feet with which to walk. He will walk, run to them, and stop them from harming you. And if you were to ask him for anything, oh Allah, vindicate me, avenge me, he'll avenge you. Y'all see that? Now my anger is gone. Okay? Allah has your front. Allah has your back. Allah knows what we do. He knows those of us who are doing for his sake. He also knows those of us who are not. But for those of us who are doing for his sake, this is how you get close to him, and he will love you. And Allah is not going to allow an enemy of his to harm you when he loves you. Y'all understand that? So let it go, sister, like I'm doing right now. Let it go. Calm. Allah's got us. Allah take care of it. The truth will come out. The truth will set you free. Okay? So the voluntary deeds, those are the deeds that we do that we don't have to. For example, the voluntary prayers. You don't have to pray the Sunnah rakats, but we do it because it's to bring us closer to Allah and for the reward they bring. Voluntary fast. We don't have to do any fasts except Ramadan. Like I said, teaching Islam. This is something I volunteer to do. Nowhere does the law say that anybody has to go out and teach this deen. True dawah is from your behavior, your actions. Allah makes Muslims, not you, not me. Okay? Giving and charity. You only have to pay the yearly zakat. You choose to help others. You choose to make donations to this website. That's a voluntary deed. This is how we end up earning the love of Allah. So by performing these type of deeds, not only does our faith strengthen, not only does our practice strengthen, like I said, cools me out. So now I ain't thinking about getting in no car to drive and do any of that bad stuff now. But it also deepens your relationship with Allah. So these are just a few more things that we can do as Muslims that will in turn bring us close to Allah and cause us to develop that allegiance and that love for him. And in turn, we'll be able to train our soul to love only what he loves. Okay, I'm going to stop right here for today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Are there any questions or comments? Is this stuff clear to everyone?
I got a question.
Go ahead.
I understand about, taking, things to Allah and that he, you put your trust in him and everything. But is it situations where you can defend yourself, but not a physical defense, but if a situation like maybe you got to file a grievance, or you got to take someone to court. Those are things we still, but putting the law first and asking for his guidance while you're doing these things.
Well,
so
remember,
how that works.
Remember, love for the sake of Allah means you love what Allah loves. Allah loves justice. He hates injustice. If someone at your job does an injustice to you, you don't get up and cuss them out. You don't throw a chair. You don't roundhouse kick them. You don't spit on them. Instead, you listen to them and you walk away and you go to EEO and file charges, file a grievance, file a charge. That's the way Allah taught us to do. You see what I'm saying? The love for Allah, it will cause you to do things the way he wants us to do it. We're supposed to vindicate ourselves in an appropriate way. But me getting in my SUV driving somewhere, roundhouse kicking some old person, spitting in their face and taking my cowgirl boot with the 10-inch heel and smashing their nose down to their throat. That's not what Allah likes. You see what I'm saying? The proper way for me in this case, since this wasn't a job or anything like that, the proper way for me to handle this is to just sit back and let Allah deal with it. But if I was at my job and a supervisor accused me of doing something that I did not do, I got witnesses. I'm going to prove my innocence by getting statements from my coworker and taking pictures to prove that the job was done. Then I'm going to go to HR and say, here's the proof. This supervisor lied on me. So we're supposed to handle situations with intelligence, with dignity, humility, and balance. We're not supposed to transgress. And that's what this is about. You know, you don't want to transgress the limits of Allah. And how do we transgress the limits of Allah? By behaving in a worse way than those people did. By doing the things that Allah don't want us to do. You understand now?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, do what you have to do. Allah likes justice. We have a legal system. Take them to court. Take them to the people's court. But don't you put justice in your hand. For example, murder in Islam. If somebody commits murder, if we demand qisas, but you got to prove it. It has to be proven. And if the person is proven guilty, then that's the qisas comes. We just don't take it into our own hands. Y'all understand? We have to do things the way Allah commanded us to. Yeah. Everybody understand? We're not no turn the other cheek people. We're not turn the other cheek people, and we're also not a stupid people either. You know, I'm not going to turn my other cheek, and I'm not going to transgress. I'm going to handle myself with balance and take the right measures to set the situation straight. In my situation, all I can do is leave it for Allah. Because this ain't job or anything like that. Just angry. Well, I ain't even angry now. Thank God. Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, the class for tonight is at the 9 o'clock class is from the book, Not One of Us. We'll have that hadith followed by the other hadith of Beware. So those two books are those two classes are at 9 o'clock, and I'm going to do them back to back like I've been doing. Yeah. So that's, and tomorrow is Friday, right? Tomorrow is the Call In and Ask Sister Layla live show. Yes. Any questions y'all have about Islam, bring them in here tomorrow. Make sure y'all advertise it too on your social platforms. The Call In and Ask Sister Layla live show is tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Inshallah, I'll answer your questions about Islam. And also Sheikh Morsi will be on standby. And Dr. Jamali is back. He might join in too. Okay, so here's a little thing about it for those of you with the Q&A. I think it's this one, right? Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. Tune in every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central to the Ask Sister Layla live Q&A with host Layla Nashiba, where she tackles current day issues, your questions and concerns.
Call in at 862-370-2838. Once again, that's 862-370-2838. See you there.
And that's the phone number you can dial in too. For those of you, some people are too shy to type their questions here, so they like to just text them anonymously. That's the WhatsApp number and the phone number you can call in tomorrow if you want to call in. But most of the people ask their questions here live, you know, and you can do that, inshallah. So either way, either you can ask them live here or call in on WhatsApp or a regular phone for that. Yeah, and that's tomorrow. So inshallah, if there's no other questions, it's time for the prayer here for me. It sure is. Inshallah, I'm going to close out for right now, and I'll be back at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure everybody's here at 9 p.m. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. See you guys at 9. Inshallah.